It started as one of those moments that could only happen in American politics, unscripted, fiery, and unforgettable. When Senator Bernie Sanders, the progressive powerhouse known for his passionate calls for justice and equality, squared off with Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, no one expected the Senate chamber to erupt into one of the most talked-about exchanges of the year. But that's exactly what happened. What began as a simple debate quickly became a viral political drama that left the nation stunned, laughing, and reflecting all at once. The tension had been simmering for weeks. A heated hearing was underway over a new labor reform bill, a bill that Sanders believed could reshape the American workforce, and one that Kennedy dismissed as government overreach in a three-piece suit. The cameras were rolling, journalists were ready, and the public watched live as two men from opposite ends of the political spectrum stepped onto a verbal showdown that felt more like a boxing match than a policy debate. Bernie, fiery and determined, began his argument with that unmistakable Brooklyn rasp. His words carried conviction. He spoke of struggling families, working-class Americans, and corporate greed. His passion was real, his statistics were sharp. Viewers nodded along. He was the voice of frustration, the champion of fairness. The American people are tired of billionaires controlling their destiny, Bernie declared, his hands slicing the air for emphasis. They deserve a government that works for them and not for the top 1%. But John Kennedy was no stranger to political combat. The Louisiana senator leaned back in his chair, his southern drawl calm, even playful. "Senator Sanders," he said, with a half-smile that hinted at mischief, "I appreciate your concern for the American people, but you can't just sprinkle socialism on the economy and call it compassion. That's like putting hot sauce on a bad meal. It won't fix the recipe." The chamber broke into laughter. The line was sharp, funny, and dripping with that Kennedy charm that could disarm even his toughest critics. Bernie's expression stiffened. For a split second, you could see the frustration flash in his eyes. He leaned forward, ready to fire back, but Kennedy wasn't done. He continued with that slow, deliberate cadence that made every word sting just a little more. "Senator, I don't doubt your heart," Kennedy said, his tone suddenly more serious, "but good intentions don't always make good laws. The American dream isn't built by taking from one person and handing it to another. It's built by giving everyone a fair chance to earn it themselves." The words landed heavy. Even those who disagreed couldn't deny the force of Kennedy's delivery. It wasn't just a rebuttal, it was a clapback that mixed intellect with charisma. Bernie tried to steer the conversation back to policy specifics, citing data and reports, but the emotional tide had shifted. Kennedy had tapped into something primal in the room, of the power of simplicity, the language of the people. For the next few minutes, the debate spiraled into a passionate exchange of ideals. Bernie, unwavering, brought moral conviction and heart. Kennedy, ever the orator, countered with humor, grit, and a touch of Southern storytelling. It was a clash of two Americas, one yearning for systemic change, the other fighting to preserve traditional values. The internet exploded within minutes. Clips flooded social media. Hashtags trended, #Bernie vs. Kennedy, #Senate Showdown, and the cheeky #Kennedy clapback dominated timelines. Supporters from both sides went to battle in comment sections. Memes were born overnight. Bernie's hand gestures turned into GIFs, Kennedy's smirk into an icon. Late-night hosts replayed the exchange, analysts dissected every second, and YouTubers crafted reaction videos that racked up millions of views. But beneath the noise and laughter was something deeper, something raw and very human. Americans saw two men who genuinely believed in their vision for the country. They saw passion, conviction, and the emotional toll of trying to fix a nation divided by ideology. Bernie's frustration was real. He wasn't grandstanding. Kennedy's confidence wasn't arrogancia, it was belief in his roots and the people he represented. A week later, Bernie was asked in an interview how he felt about the moment. He chuckled softly. "Well," he said, "Senator Kennedy is a smart guy. He's witty, I'll give him that. But this isn't about who wins the debate, it's about who stands up for working people when the cameras turn off." Kennedy, when asked about it, simply replied, "Bernie's got a big heart. We just see different roads to the same house. But I'll tell you Thesa, he keeps me on my toes." In the end, Both the men walked away with something valuable. Bernie reminded America why passion still matters in politics. Kennedy reminded us that humor and civility can still exist in disagreement. Their clash wasn't just entertainment, it was a reminder of democracy in action, imperfect but alive. And maybe that's what America needed to see. Not two enemies locked in hatred, but two public servants arguing because they care, because they love their country enough to fight for it in the open, under the bright lights, where every word counts. In a time when division feels endless, the Bernie Kennedy showdown left an unlikely message. Disagreement isn't the death of democracy, it's the heartbeat of it. And sometimes, it takes a little clash, a little laughter, and a lot of courage to remind us that we're all still listening. By the end of the day, it wasn't about who won the clapback, it was about who kept the conversation alive.